Welcome to the Punks on Hope podcast, where we explore the intersection between two seemingly opposing worlds, punk rock and mental health. Thanks for joining us. My name is Mikey, Livid. I play in a band called the Rip Taylors. I'm the guiding teacher of Wild Heart Meditation Center in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm joined with my boy, Joe Clements. You know him from Fury 66, Hot Lung.
You're gonna say furry.
That's a whole other band. Furry 66, Hot Lung, Santa Cruz Meditation Group. Oh, that was terrible.
It was amazing.
Thanks for having my back. We're here. Let's do it.
Yeah. Thank you, Mikey. That was beautiful.
We got a great topic. I've been like so stoked on this topic. You want to just go into it?
Yeah, I'm super down. I was thinking too, it's like we can talk about this afterwards. Like this topic, what we're getting into right now, y'all, is and Mikey brought this, is this 5 albums that impacted our life, throughout our life, whatever it may be, like those ones. And I've just been reflecting on these songs, and like brings me right back to it. And I was speaking of this the other day, of where sound, and especially in music, is such a mindfulness practice that it brings us right back to that moment, because our senses are alive in that moment we're listening to that song. Emotionally, like sometimes you'll hear a song, right, especially one that impacted you, you can almost taste something from the time or smell it, right? It's interesting. But with that, I was thinking it might be kind of cool to have like a Spotify list or something of these songs that we're mentioning. Would be kind of cool. So maybe check that out. I don't hold us to it, but that would be cool. Yeah.
The Punks on Hope Spotify list. Yeah. If you are listening and you feel moved to create that list, go ahead. We empower you to do it.
Feel empowered. Do our Spotify list.
Hell yeah. So we want to go into it?
Let's do it.
I coined this 5 albums that got us through shitty times.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of went more impactful. What impacted me, you know? There's been so many albums that got me through shitty times. I think it'd be like it would be a lot.
Well, okay, so let's do it. So we're going to do like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'll give you one. You give me another one.
Yeah.
I'm going to start with my number 5.
Ding, ding. Number 5. Mikey.
Number 5. So my number 5 is a band I will definitely go to bat for. That is, you probably never heard of. Most of the listeners probably never heard of. And I just want to give this band props because they're so fucking good. It's a band called Jagger Holly. Hear of them?
I haven't heard of them, no.
So they are, I don't even know where they're from. It's an American guy that lives in Austria, I think. Has some band members that are like from D-Cracks and all these like international bands, but it's totally like, you know, up my alley of anybody that grew up with like Green Day and Screeching Weasel. It's like that type of what we would coin as like Ramones core these days. Mm-hmm. And so it's an album called Last of the International Playboys. And it was, I got into this album it was like 2019, 2020, when like COVID restrictions were like hardcore. And I was like working a lot, doing a lot of counseling. Most of it, if not all of it, was on Zoom. I didn't get outside much unless it was extremely intentional. And so I remember so much of my days just like putting on my headphones, putting on some Jagger Holly, and listening to some fun fucking party pop punk, like summertime music, and walking to I have a nearby lake here. I'd walk there on my lunch breaks and like pretend I'm at the beach with my friends. Wow. But, you know, I'm restricted because of COVID. It got me fucking through COVID because, like, you know, the work we do, like being people that support others, you know, counseling and meditation and all that. It's like, you got to have those moments to have that self-care for yourself. And I just remember like getting on my bicycle and just fucking turning up pop punk music, having a good time.
Totally.
So even some of the songs, like a lot of the songs are about like drinking and drugging and partying. I just like, I don't give a fuck. One of the songs, like best song that I could put on repeat over and over again, It Ain't Over Till I'm Sober. And it's just like this fun party, drinking, having a good time, you know, summertime song. So Jagger Holly, last of the International Playboys. Nobody knows it, but please go listen to it if you're, especially if you're into like pop punk. That kind of like Lookout Records
style, kind of like
hell yeah, so good, so good.
Cool. Nice.
What do you got? What do you got?
Oh God! So I'm going back. I'm kind of going back. I was reflecting on like, okay, I went back to like the first record I bought. So I remember the first single that I got, and it was pre-10. I don't know exactly when it was, but I remember I had this little record player, and it was a little 7-inch, we call them now, but that's how they did singles on albums, right? And it had the big hole in the middle, and it was Fly Like an Eagle by Steve Miller Band. I wanna fly like an eagle till I'm free. And I fucking loved it. I cranked it always in my room. I remember, and it just like parents arguing whatever was going on, I would just crank that. And I don't remember, I was almost going to Google it. There was the B-side of it that I remember even liking more. And I forget exactly what it was, but it was so cool to have that. And I just played both sides over and over and over. But that wasn't the one really, like that was like my first kind of album I had. But the first one I bought, I don't know how I got that 7-inch, like my mom bought it, but the first record I bought, I remember riding my bike to whatever the record place was. I don't even know what it was. And we were riding our bikes. It was me and a few other kids from our neighborhood. And this one adult, which I found out later and I realized now, when you look back, I'm like, this dude was problematic. He would smoke weed with us and all the kids. And then he actually... he did some fucked up shit, you know, there's some pedophile shit like that I learned later. Anyway, the first record I bought was AC/DC, Big Balls.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And I remember just getting it. I know AC/DC a little bit, but that record, I'm like, I need to get this for, you know, kind of joking or just piss off my parents. And it was funny, you know, it's like, I remember listening. I didn't ever heard that record before, and just like, oh my God, I was so stoked on it. And there's some jams on that thing.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I just remember like that was my first purchase. I went actually, and that's what I was buying. I was getting a record, and that's what came out. And yeah, that I think not as got me through something, but in a sense it did. It kind of brought me into the purchase of music, having my own thing. It's this my own. It kind of felt like my parents didn't like it. No one really liked it, but I loved it. Right, so my own identity of like, yeah, this is gonna piss you off, cool, kind of set this punk kind of like through music, right? It could be such a statement. So I really appreciate that, you know.
Yeah, and like talking about like stages of development, it's like this, how much autonomy in that stage of autonomous development that like rock and roll, AC/DC, punk rock is like, this is my thing. Yeah, right.
I was like 10 or 11, really impactful time, you know, and home wasn't the best, you know. It's like, you know, and it just, between that Steve Miller, which was a few years earlier than that, to the AC/DC, like, you know, I think my mom bought me the Stevie Miller because it was safe, right? The Steve Miller. And then the AC/DC, I'm like, this is mine. Yeah.
I appreciate the honesty that Steve Miller is an honest answer, but totally. AC/DC is the cooler answer.
100%. But that Fly Like an Eagle, it's a protest song. It's fucking amazing. Like it's you know, so from an early, there was some kind of pull to that, right? Like singing those lyrics and like, You know,
You're trying to make it cool. You're
it's
trying.
super cool, dude. Fly like an eagle. Sing that jam, dude. You can listen to it, and you're just gonna be
like an eagle.
To the sea. You know,
Fuck
to
yeah.
the children with no shoes on the feet.
Okay, we gotta.
Come on, bro.
I'm moving on from fucking Steve Miller.
We used to be cool. Not anymore.
Yeah. So you're going like forward. I'm going backwards. So
correct.
Yeah, that's
gonna be great.
Why the fuck not?
Let's do it. It's
so
punk.
I'm going into like it was like 2015, 2016. That time was a really hard time in my life because I had just moved to Nashville and didn't know anybody. It's like my wife's work needed, had options for her to move. We had to move from Florida to somewhere else. So it was either like going to New Orleans or Myrtle Beach was one.
Myrtle Beach.
Atlanta was an option, and Nashville was an option. And I knew Nashville had a great recovery scene, a Buddhist recovery scene that I really wanted to be a part of. So we got up, we moved to Nashville for my wife's work and all of that. And then I get here, I don't have a job, don't really have many friends, and my wife is at work a lot. And so some of these old scary thoughts of like ideations where my mind wants to fucking kill me start to show up. And this album and this band in general is brutally honest about those specific ideations. I don't know if you ever heard them. If you haven't, check them out. Off With Her Head. Such a fucking great band and such an honest band, right? And the album I came up with is From the Bottom because there's a specific song, Fuck This, I'm Out. And
I just love that title. Fuck this, I'm out.
Because my mind was fucking telling me that.
Yeah,
shit.
fuck this,
I'm out.
Yeah.
And there's a music video for that song, Fuck This, I'm Out, where it's like this guy, there's like regular dude, it's the singer from Off With Their Heads, and then there's like the other guy who's like in this like annoying suit with like the khaki pants following him around, like singing the song.
Okay.
And it's his ideation following him around. And it's like that ideation, that depression was like following me around everywhere.
Yeah.
And it was something cool about having some, a singer for a great band with the lyrics being there with me and like screaming this stuff that, we're not allowed to even say it certain, we can't say it as honest as we want to, but in that fucking song, it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, it's like mindfulness, like to see that ideation and know it's just a thought. And I'm not alone in these thoughts. And actually, it may be helpful just to turn my fucking stereo up and just scream these lyrics out loud and not be alone in that, scary ideation. And so, fucking Off With Their Heads all day. What, like, I even have some of my clients listen to Off With Their Heads because they are so honest when it comes to things like, ideation and stuff like that.
That will be your that's like your take home work.
Listen to fucking Off With Their Heads.
Just the name, right?
Have you heard Off With Their Heads? Is that too
I'm not super familiar with their stuff, but yes, definitely
because I'm in my bubble, I'm still kind of in my bubble. As we go, I'll get further out of my bubble, but
it's all good. That's great. And I love that relating, the normalizing, right? And that's what music does for us, that normalizing. You're in a place and like you're connecting with that and it normalized your experience. Like, oh shit, the singer of this band, it's the same kind of shit that I'm fucking going through. Holy shit, and it's really beautiful, Love that.
Yeah.
Not that you're going through that, but that you're able to connect with something that normalized your experience and got you through.
Yeah. Thanks.
Whew, heavy stuff. All right. My next one, I think I was about 15. And this is, again, this is at this time my parents split up. My mom was crazy, like, trying to keep kids in line, and we're just kind of, I was definitely not in line. My dad's gone doing his thing, and I was getting into smoking weed, and I moved with him, but he was living outside of Santa Cruz, and I grew up in Santa Cruz, and this was a place called Los Gatos that he moved to, and he had a little this little studio with 2 rooms, and we had like a hot plate to cook our stuff on. It was like, and we lived right across from the high school, and I was super embarrassed. It was a total richer school, richer community, and I was like not. And so it was like super difficult. And I bounced from there, and then we went up to the Santa Cruz Mountains, and it was just, I moved with my dad because he let me smoke weed, and he didn't care if I was out and I was doing all the things that I was doing. He was just like, whatever. And we were living in Santa Cruz Mountains, which is it was like far from all my friends in Santa Cruz, so I didn't really get to see them that much. And there's a bus that went down the Santa Cruz Mountains, and I would take the bus, and it was like a half hour, almost 45-minute bus ride down into Santa Cruz. But I remember taking that bus ride, and had the old Walkman and cranking Metallica Ride the Lightning. Like, just like blaring it, and just like it getting so excited to go see my friends, because I know we're just going to go rage it. I haven't seen them. I'm living in isolation. I wasn't hanging out with the rich kids, and then we moved to the Santa Cruz Mountains, just really isolated. And going down the Santa Cruz Mountains, it's like all trees and like kind of spooky, and just listening to Ride the Lightning. Dun, 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 dun. It was just like, oh my God. And I remember just being like, it gave me, it was kind of scary listening to it, but then also really like gave me a lot of energy to really do what I'm doing. Let's go. By the time I got off the bus, it was like, it's fucking party time. Let's rage it, and getting to see my friends, and that really just getting me down on that bus and getting that bus ride to be not so painful that's what that got me through, and it was very impactful. And the other thing with this, is like people always say, oh, I don't know if you're a Metallica fan old Metallica. It's like the 2 records is you're either going Ride the Lightning or Master of Puppets. And everybody goes Master of Puppets, but I'm like, no, Ride the Lightning. And I'm like, because it's not as produced, but the songs are so good, and I will die on that hill. Ride the Lightning. And people put it in the comments, if you listen to Metallica, if you ever have, what is Master of Puppets or Ride the Lightning? I want to know.
I had Ride the Lightning.
Yeah. Who
and
did?
It's talking about, man, my mind. So I bought that CD. It was that time period. And there's a song.
Tape. Mine was tape.
Yeah.
Walkman.
I love the old Walkman. Because you put the speaker. It's like you're putting speakers.
One of the their speakers. One was taped on.
You're blasting it, and everybody else is hearing it. It's like
the whole bus was like, what the fuck?
Maybe, but there's like talk about brutally honest about ideation. There's a song on Ride the Lightning. It's like, was it like Fade to Black? Or
man. Yeah. Oh, Trapped Under Ice.
Yeah.
Fade to Black, I think was. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. But I didn't even relate to that. I didn't at the time. I was just like, fucking, let's go.
Yeah, I was never a metal guy, but I think I bought that like much older. Like it was already, the Black Album was already out by the time I think I bought.
Yeah, there was a whole time in like the late 80s where there was this crossover, right? Where the metal was still kind of punk. All these guys were into punk, like they're in punk, and then there's this New York had a big crossover from punk to this metal kind of stuff, and I really like Cro-Mags and shit like that. I really liked it. I got into all that kind of shit. But I was never
Yeah.
a metalhead. I was still a punk that liked that metal.
Yeah, I was part of like the punks that were like fuck metal,
Right.
you know. But the older I get,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like Chromax, like they're great.
Yeah,
Like,
Slayer, come on, let's go.
Slayer's awesome. Yeah, yeah.
But I was like Voivod, all these, other kind of ones. Celtic Frost was a really cool one. Yeah.
So okay. So the transition band, I'm going to like the how punks can like Motorhead, and then metalheads can like actually the next on my list, Misfits. That's kind of like the parallel. So literally next on my list is a Misfits album, and so like I want to set this up though.
Just do it.
So I was in a band that was like spooky pop punk. Like kind of like Alkaline Trio maybe, or what eventually became like My Chemical Romance with maybe like less emo, more pop punk. And we played like this like minor key pop punk thing. And I was the singer for the band, and my vocals are like raspy and didn't really fit the kind of like spooky goth vibe. So we ended up getting this singer. I was 21. This singer was 17.
Oh, wow.
And his name was Chino, and amazing singer, like amazing performer, one of those like born stars, like doing backflips all the time. And and so he joined our band, and like he dropped out of high school to join our band. But so I was like oh yeah, you got to check out Misfits, man. You got to check out the Misfits.
You never heard Misfits before?
Getting a what's that?
He never heard Misfits before?
No, he was like some like young kid, like 17 in the mid 90s.
Yeah,
he's listening to like Sum 41 and stuff,
right?
Because that was I was like, let me show you the cool shit.
Absolutely, you have to.
And
your obligation.
But talk about controversy. His favorite album was Famous Monsters. Michael Gray's Misfits, and I'm like, you're listening to the wrong Misfits. Yeah. What are you doing,
like
man?
To Sam Hain.
But now I listen to that album, and it's like, oh, it's such a good album, Famous Monsters. I love it. It's so underrated. People shit on Michael Graves, and some of it's rightfully so, but like. He got into the Misfits, ended up with the Misfits tattoo and like dressing all like Michael Graves and shit like that. He has since passed, and in in troubling terms, as we've been talking about with these ideations that bring us to a certain way of death. And it was really hard, but anytime I listen to Famous Monsters, I think of my boy Chino. And yeah, it's like songs about murdering people, and it's like, this like sweet sentimental thing of like missing my friend that we bonded so hard over that album too, because he got me into it, because I was like, that's the wrong Misfits, and he was like, nah, listen to this. And I don't know if you know that song Saturday Night on that.
Not really. I didn't listen to much of that stuff, but that guy had a great voice, even though that dude was problematic.
He's all Proud Boy and shit.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But good voice though. And great album. It's like kind of like a concept album.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's really into
famous
that.
Monsters. Monster movies and stuff.
Misfits.
Yeah.
There's a crossover right there.
What?
The crossover a little bit with the Misfits. They didn't really go. It didn't really go metal, but it was kind of like that, when they went into that stage.
Yeah. Well, like American Psycho is
American Psycho. Yeah,
that's a good one too. Which is.
Did you ever get into
metal.
DRI?
Oh yeah,
DRI was super crossover. They got really metal.
Yeah, well, like that was like, God, I was a little kid. My sister had DRI cassette tapes.
Yeah,
and I would listen to them, and it's like, it's like
so good. So that was one of my favorites too.
DRI, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I this is a kind of a late arrival, and I don't know why I didn't think of this, but And I'm kind of going like, so I'm still in party days, right?
Okay.
I'm getting into that punker, but I remember the same kind of era when I get turned on to this band Rudimentary Peni. I don't know if you've heard them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Really fucking like, I remember again meeting this friend. He was from Wisconsin, and he turned out to be eventually one of my really good friends. And then we went down a dark side. That's when he started getting into junk, and then I followed suit. But when he first moved here, I remember he's the only friend that had a car, and we were going up again into the Santa Cruz Mountains. He was in another part of Santa Cruz Mountains, but I remember a rainy day, and we're smoking out of a proto pipe. I don't know if you knew one of those, but again, I'm still like living on my own, and we're up it was raining, and we're on these windy roads, and he goes, "You ever hear these guys?" And it was Rudimentary Peni. I think it was Farce. And it fucking blew my mind. Like, I seriously, listening to that for the first time, like, it's punk, but it's like there's so much, like, I don't know, the way Nick Blinko did the vocals, it became one of my favorites. That and another record called Cacophony, but I think Farce was the one. Yeah, they had a few, but it was amazing. And Nick Blinko did this artwork on it, like all by hand, pencil kind of thing, and there's a full thing in the album that you can pull out, and there's a poster. I actually have it. It's up on my wall. Fucking cool, man. It was like, and I don't know if it really got me through anything, but I really connected with something with that. And it's just been every time I put a Rudimentary record on, it just does something for me, especially Cacophony. I remember listening to Cacophony later on, and it really just like, it's so trippy. But I remember I was living with my friend at the time from Wisconsin. We got a house together, and I remember just being in my room, this little fucking like closet of a room, and just listening to that late at night, and just like, yeah, it got me through something, because I never felt like I really fit in with those guys. He was one of the cooler people, and like in the scene, and I would just go to my room and listen to Rudimentary Peni, because I felt uncomfortable, even being wasted. I'd just go in there and kind of halfway passed out listening to Rudimentary Peni. Yeah, so maybe it got me through something. But my later ones, there's some impactful ones. So the last two, I have some impactful ones. It got me through some pretty hectic times.
All right. All right. Well, next on my list, my number two, is like, what I was just saying, like being away from my hometown, being away from my friends. Yeah. Because like I grew up, Fort Walton Beach, Florida, next to like Pensacola, Panama City, that area. It was like this like small town in on the beach and all of that, and it was just like I grew up with those people there, and we got into punk rock together, we got into addiction together, we went through everything together, right? And like, I love my friends. I'm still like, some of the best friends in the world are the people I went to high school with, right? And this album was one that like I have like so many specific memories of summertime, like on a pontoon boat, like with my fucked up friends. We would get
in Florida, bro.
Fucking Florida. No, it was like the shitty tattooed people, wasted mohawks, like on a pontoon boat, and we try to like park it, and we just like run into other people's pontoon boats, and we be fucked up, and like, it's Florida, nobody gives a shit, and and then we go out at night and end up in the hospital, or, whatever. It was just like pure fucking chaos. But some of it was like really sweet memories, because we'd start drinking at 10 a.m. on the beach and shit like that. But what we were there to do is really like bury a lot of our feelings. And
Yeah.
And a lot at this time, like my dad just died, you know, getting fired from jobs and like losing girlfriends, stuff like that, where it was like, and we all had stories like that, right? Yeah. And like we were just showing up for one another, just getting wasted and singing Rancid's Indestructible was like, or like, it sounds Rancid. Like a party boat, you know? If I fall back down, you're gonna help me back up again. If I fall back down, you're gonna be my friend. Fall back down and Indestructible. And so many songs on that album are like about, you know, a breakup and stuff like that. So it was like party breakup music.
Well, it was that they're in recovery too, so they're definitely talking about that stuff, you know.
Definitely. Yeah. It was that and Life Won't Wait. Life Won't Wait was another one, but Indestructible was kind of like the theme that we you know, I still remember so many words to that because it was like my brother, part of this crew too, like we still laugh about that album because our boy Rob would just scream "Party Boat" and just keep on playing songs over and over and over and over again, and it'd just be like "Party Boat," and then we'd go back to his like apartment and he would play like the same movies over and over again too, which was like, I don't know, so many times. Like, I guess that's another topic, but like
movies,
like Sleepaway Camp, Friday the 13th, the final chapter, House of a Thousand Corpses. He would do that too. He'd just play the same movies over and over again. But that was like Party Boat.
Party Boat. I like it.
Fucking
we should
Florida.
Have a Party Boat moment. Party Boat. And we'd segue into something.
All right. Okay? What's next for you?
Party Boat.
Party Boat.
What's next for me is I'm just Descendants. I Don't Want to Grow Up.
Yes.
You know, I Don't Want to Grow Up, or you know, just summary, and is like it has all the hits. But Silly Girl was the song, and I was living with a girl, a woman, and at that time, and I don't know, what was I, 18 or 19? I think it was 19, and you know, that's when I was really getting into some heavy drugs, and you know, it wasn't like everyday kind of thing, but I was definitely a partier, and she was too. But there was a friend of mine at the time that I was pretty close to that started hooking up with her, and I didn't even really know. I was so wasted, and people were saying shit. You're like, dude, I'm like, no way, and then found out that they're hooking up for a long time. And you know, when I really found out, I was devastated. And you know, obviously moved out from there. I was sleeping on my mom's couch, and just like I would listen to the Descendants over and over, and like Silly Girl was a big one, you know, and every song was just like, I felt like I just wanted to sing to her, you know, and I was just crushed. I was super crushed, and I didn't know what to do. I was trying to clean up my act because maybe it was because I was too wasted all the time, or I just fucking go for it because fuck the world, you know? Yeah. And I went fuck the world and went for it, you know. I got really heavy into addiction. Not blaming her, but you know, that was very super devastating. Not just losing her as a girlfriend, but you know, my friend, betrayal, and then kind of like my whole ego was just so wrapped up, like how could that happen to me? So yeah, Silly Girl was one of the biggest songs that I would listen to, but you know, also Coolidge, not a cool guy anymore, as if I ever were before, kind of thing, you know. And it was just like, I don't know, in some ways it you know, and still the Descendants, anytime I listen to those songs, I'm not right back there, but it brings me to like getting through that, you know, those nights just crying on my mom's couch and just listening to that all night. And and it got me through it, you know. And I think those songs really impacted so much so where it's like I listen, they give me a feeling, and the feeling of support and stokedness in some way. It kind of an alchemy from that time, from listening to that music for some reason, you know, not just the lyrics, but just the whole songs.
Yeah, they got a feeling to them. Yeah. Descendants, so good. Like, Silly Girl was the first Descendant song I ever heard, which I remember this because it's documented in a mixtape. My sister made me a mixtape, you know, and I still have that mixtape. Cool. Silly Girl, great song.
Clean Sheets.
Summary.
Yes, Clean Sheets.
Clean Sheets, yep.
Dude. And so you're like, shit, like those kind of songs, like, oh yeah. It's like, you know.
Is Summary? I wonder, is Summary still a thing? Like, did that disappear? Or like,
I mean,
because wasn't that like a
record
compilation?
It's like the greatest hits kind of thing.
Yeah,
but it came out like, you know, during their heyday, really.
Yeah,
you know, maybe after they broke up. I'm not sure. They broke up for a long time, and then they did that. What was
Everything Sucks.
Everything Sucks. That was their big
That's
comeback.
my favorite.
Oh, so good. And that was one of the bands when they came back. I'm like, oh no, you know, like sometimes bands come back after that long, and their stuff they put out is like But I was like, holy shit! And that was when I was in Fury. And I remember listening and just being so stoked. I was like, yes, they're still awesome. And they started touring again, and I got to see them because I didn't get to see them back in the day. They did play Santa Cruz, though, back in the I Don't Want to Grow Up days.
I
got to meet Bill Stevenson, too. He produced a lot of most of Good Riddance's stuff, so I would go up and when he would come out and record their stuff up at Fat Mike's studio up there somewhere. I forget what it's called. But I hang out with them, and it was really cool to hang out with Bill. He's rad. He's a really cool dude.
Yeah, like, I think we should do a Descendants episode. There's so much, like, where, like, Everything Sucks. That was, like, one of my coming of age ones.
That's
like,
so crazy. See, that's our age gap. There's an age gap here, right? That was like, fuck, I was mid-20s by that time that came out, you know?
I think, I was in, like, middle school. Or like ninth grade.
You
like,
little baby. You're a little puppy.
Okay, moving on.
Yes.
Moving on to our number ones, I guess.
Yeah, here it is.
Yeah. Where, well, like, I don't. This is
party
not
boat.
the party boat. This is not my like number one album by far, but it's like that emotional growth album that like super helpful for me. So like I got shit coming on my computer. Hold on. I have Wild Heart Meditation Center text messages like blowing up right now.
Okay.
I do see the word
disturb, bro. Do not disturb.
I do see the word poop involved in it. So the suspense for my number one.
I know.
So
doing
like
a drum roll.
Don't. No, it's not worth it. It's a good album, but
Party Boat.
Party Boat is a little better. I wish I had more to say about this album, but it's Social Distortion, Sex, Love, and Rock and Roll.
Yeah.
I put it at number one, but I'm not totally sure why. And I think it has something to do with like the lack of better phrasing is like me becoming a man, where it was like I've always been like the sensitive kid. And I was at a time period where I broke up with a long-term girlfriend, started drinking a bunch, just becoming something. And it's like that album gave me permission to grow up, to be a sensitive man, but still be kind of tough, be like sensitive bro, right? And that album is like, there's some brilliant love songs on it.
Really
and
Mike Ness, man. Whew.
Yeah. Like Mike Ness, like just having that, kind of example of like what a grown-ass man can be, a sensitive grown-ass man can be, where cool. He's kind of, dude in recovery and all of that. And it is. Yeah, I guess that's all I have on that. I don't know.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love that you can tie that in, right? Because a lot of people that the crowd that goes to a social distortion, they're just hearing the mask, right?
Yeah,
they're just hearing, but you get to hear the sensitive part of it too. And really, the dude was coming from a place of vulnerability and sensitivity in a lot of his songs, But bro punk.
But that album, I can't remember what came before it, but I definitely heard Social Distortion a bunch and liked them. But that album, something Sex, Love, and Rock and Roll, something about that was just fucking honest and real, and Mommy's Little Monster's cool, and all. It's what's that? They had that documentary.
Oh yeah.
Another State of Mind. Another State of Mind. Which is
where he's fucking writing that song while they're on tour. Fuck yeah. The BYO dudes. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and where that was watching that as a kid, it was I want to do that when I grow up. And he's fucking 19. Yeah. And I did. It was exhausting and fun and all of that.
You didn't get in a bus and fucking cruise. That converted bus was super cool, and that Another State of Mind documentary.
Yeah, around this time period too. Like I said, my father passed away, and me and my brother were in a band together, Scars and Stripes, and my dad had some money, left over, which was only $8,000. We inherited $8,000.
It's a lot when you're a kid. Yeah.
Well, we bought a 16-seater van.
Went for it.
And because we were tired of living Another State of Mind, because we kept on buying these vans, and we'd end up riding home in the U-Haul, just like Mike Ness,
Wow, that's cool, man. That's cool. All right,
what do you got? Okay, is yours worthy of a drum roll?
This record, I would say, actually got me into spirituality. This one really, because I was at this time in early recovery, and never really grasping at the spiritual part of what 12-step was telling me. I could never wrap my head around it. And, I was doing a little bit of searching, and when I heard fucking Mantra by Shelter, I was like, holy shit.
Here we go again. Ain't so many walls, but I know I can get in. Here we go again.
And all the lyrics and what they were doing, I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And it got me into spirituality, and mostly Eastern philosophy of spirituality, and to the point where I was like, I'm in. I fucking was Krishna core. I was going to Krishna temples. I was eating kirtan, and that didn't totally stick, but it turned me on to open up to that. There's more than what this Christian ideology that 12-step was really pushing, and I just couldn't relate. I couldn't. I had maybe too much baggage or just whatever it was. But I remember Mantra, and then just that all the different hardcore bands that were doing, 108 was doing their Krishna core band, and Cro-Mags, and it was like, oh shit, so it was really cool. And I remember this. I think I still have it. Shelter did this kind of a documentary too, where they filmed their tour, and they were chanting before fucking hardcore shows, and then they're chanting and handing out beads and just all like this, and then all of a sudden they get on stage and it's just fucking nuts, and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I still Mantra, and I went and saw Shelter just last year, and I took my kid, and my wife was a fan too, but I took my kid, 13, and we all were just up front, and I'm fucking just oh my God, hearing these songs, and my kids kind of bouncing around, my wife, I just started bawling. I'm like, oh hell yeah. God. And some of those songs on Mantra, some of the lyrics are just really, really meaningful, and really impacted me in a way that I could relate to everything that Ray Kappa was saying, every fucking thing. Raghunath is what they go by now, but it just really, it got me deeper into spirituality, and I would say he's one of my first teachers, just through his music, which is fucking pretty cool, pretty fucking rad. That a hardcore spiritual band, whatever, that really, like, his message was a foundation for me, it's beautiful. Yeah, and the Krishna stuff, I'm super down with. It's not exactly what I would, where my practice is, but definitely a foundation for sure. Yeah. That's mine. Yeah.
I have so many questions.
I'm down.
Yeah, like, so you got into like Krishna consciousness type stuff for like formally doing it and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would go to temple and go on Sundays. Basically, I had the outfit. I had the Krishna beads, the X's on my hand, Definitely had to have the Krishna beads. And then prasadam, I think is the word. Sunday they would feed like the whole community, and there's such good food, and chant Hare Krishna at the temple up in Berkeley, and and I had the japa beads. I would chant Hare Krishna. I was really about it. I'd go to my wife's Christian household, and like we'd go on vacation. I'd make sure I had my japa beads out in the, kind of like my statement. Another weird thing that fucking Michaela's husband's doing, and I.
Yeah.
But it was like, I didn't get deep into the philosophy. I started reading the Bhagavad Gita and stuff, and it was pretty out there for me. It was like, whoa, wait a minute, But there's some good core messaging in there. So it didn't really stick for me.
So like, this happens in punk all the time, I think. Like the perspective and perception of a scene versus when you go into it, what it is. Like, I know, like Krishna core, I assume everybody chanting Hare Krishna is like hardcore as fuck and all this, but like, were there like straight edgers and stuff like that, or was it just like, some
for
hippies
sure.
or average people,
For sure, and they're average people, but a lot of the hardcore kids in the early mid '90s were embracing it. It was pretty cool, especially the straight edge community, because it was vegan, that whole kind of deal, no drugs, no alcohol kind of thing. So they're drawn to it, and I think it was mostly by the scene that bands like Shelter, 108 created. I would say Shelter and 108 are the two main ones, for me at least. There's all kinds of other ones. Prima was a really cool Krishna band. Yeah. But there people who were into it. I don't know if like everybody was embracing the philosophy. It was more, I think it was, my opinion, it was an outfit. If you didn't have the fucking Krishna beads, it's like, like, okay, those are my homies,
I need some Krishna beads.
I'm down with them. I'll rock the Krishna beads still. When I went to India, it was fucking 10 years or more, almost 20 years since I was like rocking the Krishna beads and stuff. But we went to a temple over there, and I'm like, I want to get some more Krishna beads, and I actually got them from India at a temple. It was cool, but it was interesting because there's one, you can have one or two rows of beads. You can't do three, I was told, over there, because that is a full devotee. And I used to rock the three all the time back in the day, but learning that, I'm like, oh shit. But I still got three. I'm like, oh, fuck it.
So full devotee meaning like monk.
You're monk. You're in. Yeah. You're robing up.
Like, I was listening to Wisdom of Sages. Wisdom of the Sages, Raghunath, Ray Kapos, like this morning. Yeah, it's a great podcast.
He's great, man. That guy has some fucking energy, man. He's such a fucking cool dude. He really is, man. That's one of my heroes that, like I said, founding teacher, if you will, or whatever, root guru, that it was just like super cool,
So like I saw like everything I know about you is from like Instagram. I saw that post.
Yeah.
What? Tell me. What was
No.
that post that
So,
you
we've gone back and forth. I met him a couple times and hung out with him, and he remembered me when I went to the show. He remembered, but you know, I think I'm on one of his, like, you know how Instagram they do, you get alerted when they do anything kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think he has a group or some shit, and I don't know what happened, but I'm like, oh shit, I had a voice message from Roganoff. I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. He's fucking reaching out, and I go to listen to it, and it's all and then ended. I'm like, oh. It was a butt dial, butt DM.
where they talk about the Krishna miracles, right?
Yeah,
it's a miracle
exactly.
that Ray Capo's ass sent you a message. It's a
Killer
blessing.
message. Yeah, it was a blessing. He blessed me up with his butt.
Yeah, I think like you like it's so like you live like in a lot of scenes, and it's like. Coming from like suburban Northwest Florida, where it's like, I had like punk rock, and like out of dumb luck, I had Buddhism, but like, oh yeah, I could see myself doing that stuff. That sounds awesome. And
out here,
like,
West Coast, right, Northern California kind of thing is definitely, you know, and I think it was just around the right people, the people at the time. It was my friend Noah and Micah. They were living together down in Santa Cruz, and I just met Micah. Micah was like really like he was intense. Like they would have like at their house they would have the Krishnas come over and do talks. So we would sit there and listen to these Krishna devotees come in and do talks, and yeah, it was cool. And then we'd go and fucking while out, fucking playing punk songs and driving fast around the car, going to meetings and shit like that. So it was a really cool time. And an early recovery. I think the first time I was in recovery in the early 90s. And it was just really fucking cool, you know. Yeah.
That's a good number one. Like my introduction to really like any of that was through like John Joseph's stuff.
Yep.
For a while there, like I was reading all of his books, like Evolution of a Cro-Magnon.
It's great.
Like, that
great
book.
I listened to the whole. Did you read it or listen to it?
Both.
Yeah.
So I read it.
Him talking.
That was
it's like, wow.
That was an early recovery book for me.
Yeah. I tried reading Harley's and I couldn't do it, man. I was like, ugh, too much violence in it. I'm like, oh man, that's like super cringe.
Was it? That's more recent though, right?
I think Harley's book did come out more recent. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was good. I got through most of it, but it's like it was some hard parts to read. He had a fucking wild life, that dude.
Yeah, he was like 11 or something in like the fucking New York hardcore scene.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Yeah, John. When I first listened to Cro-Mags, I didn't know. I didn't even know what the cover. You know, they had the Best Wishes one. It just looked hectic with that fucking lion or whatever thing ripping fucking people's guts out. I'm like, this is super metal. You know? And learning later, that's like I forget what it's a representation of, but it's Krishna art. And I didn't even know that Harley and John Joseph were into Krishna consciousness. You know, back then. I found that out later when I got into it.
Yeah, I think like because veganism is a big part of my life. Like I was doing blow and still vegan, right? And like I think like John Joseph
smoking
being
cigarettes and being vegan,
right? Oh, 100%, 100%. Yeah, I've been vegan 18 years, 20 years, something like that.
Wow, so you're still
like,
vegan?
Oh, still vegan. My whole family's vegan.
You know, true. It lasted in the 90s for me about 2 years.
I love it. Like it keeps me in line, right? As I get older. Yeah. As I was younger, a little bit more preachy and stuff like that. Yeah. But like my sister's been vegan like 30 years. My brother-in-law too, and my brother's vegan, my wife's vegan, my mom's vegetarian. Like it's contagious. It's something that happens. So like John Joseph, like his book Meat is for Pussies.
Yeah.
I read that, and then it was like you had that Evolution of a Cro-Magnon, and it was like, oh, cool. This like speaking clean living or recovery, like it's kind of like recovery stuff from my perspective. Even though I don't agree with a lot of things John Joseph does, but whatever. It's like that he was definitely a helpful voice in my head
for sure.
At early recovery, especially that book and some of the things he says that are straight up, right?
Yeah.
I'm a little bit more gentle now.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Yeah. That's cool. So, do you want to do like any honorable mentions that came to mind? Because I think I have a few.
Yeah, go for it. I can follow your lead on that.
I don't know, but now
now you don't know. I have a few. Wait, I don't know.
Fucking. So like, okay, so like talking to like, I'm kind of envious of your order versus my order, because like the coming of age of like Autonomy, where there's certain albums that were like huge for me to be like finding my identity, where you could tell like some of my identity is like, like in the pop punk stuff. So like I remember being in my brother-in-law's backseat of his car, and we were out skateboarding together, and this is in North Carolina, and he's playing something. It was like such a vivid memory of like hearing something I never heard before, and they're like, what the fuck is that? That is so cool. Then he was like, oh yeah, that's Screeching Weasel, and the case for the CD was sitting right next to me, and it was Boogada Boogada Boogada. It's like, it's kind of hardcore, kind of pop punk, is like kind of the first album of that type of pop punk, right? The single note leads and snarling lead vocals with sweet harmonies underneath them. Oh, it's such a fucking great album. And like pop punk meaning like pop references, like pop culture references of like Madonna and David Letterman and Brady Bunch and stuff like that, where it's like, fuck yeah, the things they're singing about are things I know. So Screeching Weasel, Boogada Boogada Boogada, has a special place in my heart, even though it's definitely not my favorite of theirs. But I remember, so like I come home from being on this trip with family and brother-in-law and stuff like that, and I can't find that at the fucking mall, I go to my local skate shop, Plus Skate Shop, shout out. And they have their little CD section for $9, way cheaper than the mall. I bought Screeching Weasel, Boogada Boogada Boogada.
Wow.
Definitely on my list of like, that's like me, like, oh yeah, I'm a punk rocker now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so honorable mentions of like records or something that, there's something blurry with your stuff. There you go. Now it's working. Your screen was blurry for a moment. Now you're killing. So honorable mention for me, and my good friend Russ Rankin, he used to make me tapes, like different, what do we call them, the mixtapes. And he turned me on to so many good bands that I never heard, and one of the bands that really stuck out was this band called American Bison. They're from the Pacific Northwest, and I don't even remember the name of the song, but I just remember this fucking song was so cool. And it's like, the rest of the record is pretty good, but there's this one song that it just stuck out on the mixtape that he made me, and it was just really cool. And that one, there's something about that. So I would say American Bison. And it was in a time I remember him not being in the band anymore, and then we were going up on it was one of our first up north tours, and we had a new lineup and stuff, and I remember listening to that, and I knowing that the band was from up there, just kind of gave me this sadness and just like, damn, and kind of coolness that I'm in these guys' neck of the woods. I wonder if they're around or they're still around. I don't think they were at the time, but yeah. So American Bison, they're rad.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know them. I'll have to check it out on the
pretty
the-
obscure, and that's what Russ was good with. He would have these obscure bands that
Yeah.
were really cool and really good taste for like songs that had really cool hooks in them, and not just
Fuck
like
yeah.
a catchy chorus or something. Just really cool sounds to them. Yeah, he's got a good
Yeah.
rock sensibility.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I think that's all I got. You got any other ones?
Yeah, no, I think that was good, man. I think,
Okay.
yeah, and I think we should put together a playlist. If I don't know how to
Yeah.
do that on Spotify, but somebody really needs to help us out with that.
Yeah. punksonhopepodcast@gmail.com if you
Yes,
want to
hit
reach
us
us.
up,
That we have
please.
an email address.
We need
Please.
help.
We need help.
Technical help.
Yes.
We can
that'd
barely
be
get our
great.
screens to zoom in on us.
No, yeah.
If we move too fast, it gets blurry.
All right. Call it a night.
Let's do it.
All right.
All right.
All
Thank
right.
you all for
Well-
tuning in. Like, subscribe, review. Stay up, stay true, be you.